Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our second 5 for 5 to Help You Thrive video parent series. The theme for this series is Fall in the Kitchen. So we want to be respectful of your time, and we're going to go ahead and get started with motor skills.
Hi, everybody. So let's start with motor skills. So let's start and refresh what motor skills are. So motor skills are our abilities to move our bodies, such as walking, running, jumping, and even cooking and eating. Young children need to work on their motor skills in order to gain control of their bodies. A great way to do this is through the kitchen. When we cook, we need precision and control of our bodies, our hands, our movements, and otherwise, the kitchen can be a pretty dangerous place, right? If we don't have control of ourselves. So a good way to help our little ones practice their motor skills in the kitchen is through activities such as measuring, pouring, kneading dough, shaping food, cutting, using various utensils in the kitchen. This will help them develop bodily control overall, but will really translate over in school when they have to write, use scissors, or use other tools. Now, don't forget utensils in eating. Eating with utensils is also a more physical skill that children need to learn, and it's going to be needed in school and other social settings. Now that we're in fall, perfect, we can also practice those motor skills by carving pumpkins, using a variety of utensils. We can do cooking family and seasonal recipes. And don't forget to practice eating those goodies with a variety of different utensils such as spoons, forks, and even things like chopsticks. Make it a game, make it a challenge for them, so it's fun for them to practice using those different skills and gain that control. Now, we're going to move on to social emotional development. And guess what? We use that also. We use motor skills in social development too. What do we do when we greet people? We shake hands. If you're Hispanic, maybe you hug or kiss. And that's all motor skills that kick in when we greet others.
Now let's talk about social emotional skills in the kitchen. Beyond the practical skills, cooking builds character. It encourages your kids to work with others to produce the final result and boost their confidence as they take the lead in activities like packing their own lunches, baking holiday treats, or helping to get dinner on the table. It also encourages them to open to foods they otherwise might not have tried. Of course, the best part of cooking with kids isn't the STEM skills or even the life lessons. Cheesy as this might sound, it's the memories you make together in the kitchen. Let me show you what I used to do with my daughter Elisa right here in this slide. We love cooking together. This is her at the age 3 making corn cakes, or as we call it in Spanish, arepas. Food is the main ingredient in family gatherings and holidays and cultural celebrations. Now, let me ask you, how much do children get involved in family cooking projects? What do they know about food preparation? Or what would they like to learn? All these activities naturally lead to discussion of family food costumes. Invite your children to share what they know about the ways food is part of their family celebration. Perhaps starting a family journal. Let's look at some ways we can add literacy into cooking with our children.
All right, thank you. So let's look at literacy in the kitchen. First off, we have cookbooks. Cookbooks, whether checking them out online, at the library, or creating them at home, cookbooks help build comprehension, following directions, and builds vocabulary for children. Next up is recipes. Recipes require basic reading comprehension, understanding how much of an ingredient is needed, helps with following step-by-step process, first, next, and last, builds vocabulary with the names of ingredients common and unfamiliar, and recipes from different cultural backgrounds can introduce cultural and linguistic diversity by pronouncing some of the different food names. And creating a recipe helps to build the child's writing and communication skills. Next, we have menus. Menus helps with noticing environmental print. Environmental print is what appears on signs, labels, and logos. When we encourage children to notice their environmental print, we are helping them learn that reading isn't just letters and sounds, but pictures and context too. Asking your child to find the frosted flakes in the pantry with the rest of the cereal, he or she is having to decipher which one of those boxes is the frosted flakes by the way that it looks. Thus, connecting the words on the box that say frosted flakes, so that's how they use the environmental print. And not only that, but menus also build vocabulary. And then finally, we have meal planning. Meal planning with your kids is quality time spent together. It will show them the importance of eating a balanced diet with plenty of whole grain, fiber, and vegetables. While allowing them to participate will instill confidence within them while exciting their interest in food and encouraging them to help you get creative in the kitchen. So now let's look at how we can incorporate literacy with fall. All things pumpkin. So we can, first off, decorate your pumpkin as your favorite literacy character. This can be done to represent your favorite character from a favorite book. Working together as a family to decorate the pumpkin, you can chat about the book, ask questions to help build comprehension. Next, we have following a recipe for pumpkin pie, bread, or etc. Working together as a family unit to create a favorite pumpkin dessert or treat helps to build connections while working on children's comprehension as well as following directions. Then we have read alouds. Whether it be going to the library to check out the books, looking them up on YouTube, or downloading them on your favorite online website, gathering favorite titles about family traditions, foods, especially pumpkins, to read either before bed or another designated time is the best way for children to hear you read to them, so that this is so important for literacy development. And then finally, we have vocabulary. Learning different vocabulary about the makeup of a pumpkin, such as stem, gourd, or pulp. Learning different foods that you can make or drink that you can make with pumpkin, such as puree, souffle, or whether the treat that you made is savory or sweet. Now, by using savory and sweet, we're using our taste buds, and this is the best way to introduce our stem portion and how we can introduce this area in the kitchen.
For our next section, we're going to be talking a little bit more about STEAM in the kitchen. Just as Nicole was saying, we learned that vocabulary is very important because we can actually see as we do, right? And we can actually describe things. And this is exploration when it comes to the kitchen is one of the things that STEAM talks about. Remember that the definition for STEAM is science, technology, engineering, and math. So in this case, we're going to be focusing, of course, in pumpkins. The first thing that we can actually do is measuring. When we are around the kitchen, we are going to be using the materials that we have. It could be a cup, or it could be actually a measuring cup. And we can see the difference between, for example, something that will transform from a solid to a liquid, just like Nicole was sharing. Another fun thing that we can do to actually facilitate and explore with the children when it comes to pumpkins is weigh it. We can see the difference between something that is small and something that is big, right? Just as we have this fellow friend over here in the corner, will I sink, right? Or will I float? And the children will love that because it gives them a chance to predict and explore their thoughts. Another very fun thing that you can do as well with pumpkins is mix and make. Just as Nicole was saying, and building on that, there are different things and recipes that you can make with just one ingredient, right? When you mix it with other things, because you're in the kitchen, right? It's fun. We can actually see the difference between ingredients and create new recipes. As you can see right here, there is a small bucket. It's very, very similar materials as we have at home. And then we just have different sizes of pumpkins and they're doing a comparison. Another fun thing that we can do is investigate the inside of the pumpkin, right? Just to see what they have inside and the seeds. Once we have it dry, then we can see the difference between why is it wet inside and why is it dry when it comes out, and then we clean it. So that's another thing that we can do. And also we can use measuring cups or anything like that to actually measure the size of the seed and the size of the pumpkin and compare it. Next slide, please. So here's just a visual example of the many things that we can do in the kitchen. In this case, we are talking about pumpkins and everything that has to do with fall. So there are different things that you can do. For example, you can have a scale to weigh it, but you can also use the children's hands and just have them hold it. Have them hold a little pumpkin, of course, make sure that they're appropriate for their size and age, and have them compare it and see. And you can do this with colors and with textures to see some are long, some are round. Anything that has to do with investigating, they will love it. Here we have an example of a scale, and then we have the seeds, and then we also have a piece of the actual pumpkin once we cull it. And then they can see the difference of what it is. Remember that for children, anything is fun. Anything is interesting because they're exploring. Everything is new. They can do it for themselves if this is something that they can do and is appropriate for their age, or we can assist them as they're little, as you see here at the very top. And just as we were saying before, with just one thing, and once you mix it with other things, you can actually create things. For example, puree. We can actually create pumpkin soup. We can cut it in pieces, and we like to make chicken soup with the pumpkin as well. Or you can make the pumpkin bread, and also the very famous for fall, the pumpkin latte. So there are many, many things that you can do in the kitchen when it comes to pumpkins and just adding other materials, or allowing the children to actually experiment and getting to know what it is. How does it look like in the inside? How does it transform when you mix it to other things? And how can one thing or one ingredient can become other things, and that will create science and exploration. And now we will be learning about social studies.
Nati, those pictures made me hungry.
Me too.
Social studies in the kitchen really just takes an inquiring mind. Where does the food we eat come from? Who invented the tools we use to cook and eat? Who invented the appliances we use to cook? Who grows or manufactures the foods we eat? Does everyone eat the same foods? There's endless possibilities, but it helps to set the stage, so to speak. If you model openness and inquiry, it will be a symbiotic process for your children to do the same. If you wonder out loud and follow through by finding the answer, your child will learn to do that too. Nowadays, it's as easy as asking Google or Alexa, or looking it up on the internet using your phone or computer. The adventures can be endless. When my children were young, I had special placemats for them, the props, so to speak, like the ones here. The US and the world map, by the way, are still available on Walmart and Amazon, I checked. At first, it was just a colorful picture under their plate, but as we wondered together, it helped us have a readily available visual we could refer to. Sometimes it can be the jumping off point. Once you have established that foods come from different places, you can experiment with recipes from different regions, countries, or cultures, which can lead to conversations about the people. You get the picture. With young children, especially those who are in the me phase, you might want to start local, meaning places, foods, or recipes that are meaningful to them. Our family happens to be Cuban, so the natural jumping off point, for us was that. But local can also mean something that you're growing in your backyard, or in Tampa, or in Florida, and work your way out from there. The adventures can be started by a favorite food or a book. Where do chicken nuggets come from? Can we see the next one, Lisette, so we can see how we can transfer this to fall? So as we said, there's a million different ways that you can study social studies this time of year. but I suggest that you start at home and follow your children's leads. If you visit a pumpkin patch, find out where the pumpkins were grown and show your child on a map where it is, and if they're interested, how far the pumpkins travel. You can use Google Maps or any of those other applications to look it up. Where do pumpkins grow? Which country grows the most pumpkins? It's China, by the way. Who knew? What about family meals? Where do I begin? Where do your ancestors come from? Where is that? How did they get here? Everyone came from somewhere, unless you're an American Indian descent. When that's the case, which tribe? What are some of the foods that we can try that came from these places? What traditions do we have, and where did they originate? If you don't have any traditions, which ones can you start? Our family, for example, went to a Boy Scouts or Cub Scout dinner one time and found out that they make their turkeys in a garbage can. And although it was good, we decided to bring it home and make it our family tradition to Cubanize it and cook it in a garbage can in our backyard. It's a whole day affair. So think about it. What can you start doing with your children in the kitchen? Lisette?
Okay, so before I wrap this up with culminating data and information for you to remember, in the chat there is a handout with resources for kids in the kitchen that you are able to download and take and follow some of the leads and links that we have provided for you that helped have a lot of activities that you can do with the children. And we'd like to apologize as well for our technical difficulties, as we're all still adjusting to the many formats that we have at our disposal. So with this, we have covered motor skills, social emotional, literacy, STEM, and social studies. But what's one activity that we can do that brings them all together anytime, any month, any season, aside from holidays? Your everyday family dinner. Now, we know everybody's busy. We don't always have time for family dinner. But if you can try and squeeze it in at least once a week, it is going to make a world of difference for your children. Motor skills during family dinner. Family dinner provides an opportunity for your children to really fine-tune those fine motor skills as they learn how to serve themselves, hold flatware, and pour their own beverages. Social emotional is a perfect time to model table manners. This is where kids learn a lot of important social and emotional skills that they may not have the opportunity to learn elsewhere. They also learn to cooperate and be patient, sharing, waiting their turn, passing platters, and using appropriate language and manners. In addition, recent studies as recent as August of this year show that elementary school kids who ate dinner with their families were better friends. It showed that families who prioritize dinner time have fewer social emotional conflicts at school and have more confidence and positivity with their friendships and peer relations. Children will have a higher self-esteem and they feel more connected to their parents and siblings if they have them. Literacy. So much literacy. We like to say in our in-services that talk first, read later. And there's a lot of research that backs that up. Family dinner helps to boost vocabulary because more often than not, parents will be telling stories about their day and use very sophisticated language that kids can understand in the context of the story, therefore growing their vocabulary up to 10 times more advanced vocabulary than they would not having family dinners. The takeaway here is read to your children early and often, but don't forget the importance of providing a word-rich environment where family dinners are awfully a dose of brain-building conversation. Family dinner time for literacy also improves storytelling skills. Not only is vocabulary important, but children need to be able to tell stories and retell them with a beginning, a middle, and an end. The research also shows that children who have strong narrative skills as preschoolers have higher reading scores up to 10 years later. STEM. everything about family dinner and cooking is STEM. Children can learn their mathematical skills of one-to-one correspondence. They are able to sort, count, setting the table, placing with chairs, measuring out ingredients, plant your own herbs or vegetables, farm to table, composting if you're brave enough, and recycling. In chemistry, like Natalie said, you have those changes of matter, liquids to solids, solids to liquids, vice versa, and liquid to steam. Social studies. Social studies is really composed of two components. The first one in early childhood being social systems and norms, values in our day-to-day lives. For preschoolers, this includes experiencing diversity of people and cultures and becoming aware of the roles that people have in society. The second component is more of what you are used to learning in school, those standard subjects. Economics with preschoolers involves a very basic understanding of money, and you can do this by taking them to the grocery store and helping them pick out some of the materials, and if the line permits, let them pay for it themselves so they start to get a feel for how money works. History at this age focuses on the sequence of events, and that can be a little difficult with children because no matter how much you go over today, tomorrow, next month, next year, it's very difficult in preschool for them to start to understand those concepts. So if you have some family history that you would like to share with them that is important, you can talk about it then. Or there's many holidays coming up. The fall season kind of sparks the start of the holidays, and it goes on into the spring, so you can talk about the history of some of those if any of them are relevant to your family. Preschoolers are also interested in the lives of people and from other parts of the world. This is where geography comes in, and introducing them to foods from around the world helps to create concrete examples and connect it to their own lives. Lastly, in the last few years, ecology has been a part of social studies and how our human behavior affects nature and the health of the planet. This is where that composting comes in. That's all been added into the mix of social studies. So as you can see, all of the developmental skills that are critical to prepare your children for success in elementary school can be taught and practiced during your family dinner time. And with that, like I said, we have some resources. The Office of Early Learning has a parent tab for you to search the developmental domains so that you can have activities in there that you can search. We have our own ELC YouTube channel. If you would like to go in there, we have lots of examples, and the original first series of 5 for 5 is in there with more activities with all the developmental domains. And YouTube is a great resource. These are all listed in your resource that we put in the chat, available for you to download. And the recording of this will also be available on this YouTube channel with the pertinent information that you need. Again, we offer this once a quarter. This is our second one. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you next quarter for our spring edition. Thank you.